the Indianapolis Colts are trading away one Carson Wentz to the Washington Commanders. The Commanders have been searching long and hard for their quarterback, calling up everybody. They finally found their trade partner, and it was unfortunately Carson Wentz. The deal includes a second-round pick, a third-round pick, and a conditional third-round pick heading over to the Indianapolis Colts for Carson Wentz and a second-round pick. This deal is huge for the Colts because now they don't have to pay Carson Wentz. That I feel like is a very big deal for this. But Dylan, you are a big Indianapolis Colts fan. What were your thoughts regarding this trade?
Yeah, it was a fractured relationship. Not saying that it was Frank Reich and also Carson Wentz, but from that organization as a whole, everybody in that locker room, or not the locker room, but the entire organization really felt, hey, this is not a good fit right now. And Carson Wentz, he's had his trouble. We all know in Philadelphia when it comes to receiving criticism, and Indianapolis the same way. Now Washington gets the opportunity to be the third team that can try to fix him and see what they could do with him. It's a big financial commitment to someone that doesn't have a lot of flexibility there. But I mean, that's something they're going to have to do. And Carson Wentz, I mean, now's the time. You haven't played it your entire career. This is where you show up and play with some testicular fortitude because your time's ticking.
He's dropped the testicular fortitude. AJ, who's the real winner of this trade?
First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for not starting that with AJ. You're a big Carson Wentz fan and lover, blah, 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 and all that.
Yeah,
there.
come on.
The winner of this trade is the Washington Commanders, and it's because they got a quarterback. Now, say what you will about Carson Wentz. Say the issues you have about Carson Wentz. We all know the 4.2 QBR against the Jacksonville Jaguars with a playoff berth on the line. I get it. But if they were that certain that Taylor Heineke was not their guy, if Ryan Fitzpatrick got a hip replacement in the middle of a game and they needed somebody to start and play QB, Ron Rivera might be the dude to give a QB a chance and make something out of him. And the other part of the reason they win this trade is because the Indianapolis Colts, they are now on 5 QBs in 5 years. Darius Leonard has alluded to that if you'd like to know more about that situation. The only QB on their roster now is Sam Ehlinger. What do you know about Sam Ehlinger as a professional player? Nothing. So now they either have to hope that Jimmy G can be great after surgery and they can make a trade for him, or they have to hope that they can find another rookie in the draft, or you go and try to get Marcus Mariota out of Las Vegas, or you try to get Mitch Trubisky. There's a lot. There's so many questions on the side of the Indianapolis Colts. Damn the thought process of they traded for Carson Wentz. Damn the thought process of Frank Reich apologizing for vouching for Carson Wentz. That's wild. I think the Commanders win this trade just on the simple fact that they now have a QB and a plan moving forward.
I tell you an interesting one. You bring up the points of potential quarterback options for the Colts. We'll dive into that when it potentially goes around, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they got so much cap room now with their ability. Maybe they go ahead and get a Matt Ryan from an Atlanta or someone like that they could bring in a proven veteran with that team. If they're willing to move. I mean, we all seen the things around Atlanta. Maybe a potential spot for them, a young quarterback like a Jordan Love.
You
laughing at?
Dylan's off hot. Dylan's off to a hot start.
What the hell will we trade Matt Ryan for?
I mean, what do you hold on to him for?
We go ride with.
Guys have been hamstring for the last 5 years because of his contract.
What I want to bring up here before we move on to the next big news is the Washington football team. We have seen so much talk about. We've seen a lot of memes going around about how the Washington football. Oh, Commanders now. Damn it, the Commanders. Keep forgetting they have a name. They have a name now. For the Commanders, though, this move, I don't like. Carson Wentz moves the needle a little bit at the quarterback position for the Commanders. An upgrade from Taylor Heineke, just a slight one. But the thing is, what gets me here, we've talked about it a lot on this show, is how far away are the Washington Commanders from being a real threat in the NFC? Because Denver, we talked all the time about how Denver was just that quarterback away. Was Washington really that quarterback away from being a contender like Denver was?
No. This is a step. This is a step in the right direction. Because the fact of the matter is, sure, you can like what Sims does. You can like what Dotson possibly brings to the table. But Terry McLaurin is really their only receiver. Their weapons and J.D. McKissick, who, if I'm not mistaken, is a free agent. Antonio Gibson, who's in and out and injured, but when he's playing is really good. Carson Wentz doesn't make players, and that's a big deal because you're going to have to get some guys who maybe they're a flash in the pan, maybe they're a splash on the market, but you have to get some guys that are going to be able to help Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
What we've seen, he's left Philly with no receivers, went to Indianapolis with one wide receiver, and now is in Washington with one wide receiver.
Well, I find
Thomas. I think he's going to have a hell of a year.
Well, the other part about it is who's the biggest free agent for the Washington Commanders right now? It's Brandon Sheriff. The offensive line is not as good as it was in Indianapolis, and Carson Wentz is going to have to be able to make some plays without a good offensive line in Washington. So that's the biggest concern to me.